lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and finally, after a long hiatus, I am back doing indie creator spotlights. And the first person I wanted to have back on is none other than Jerome Cabanatan. Huge fan of your stuff, dude. We've been trying to do this for quite a while, so I'm glad that we could finally set some time together and chat your stuff, chat comics, and everything, dude.
That's awesome. Glad to be here. It's been a minute. But here we are.
Yeah, dude. So everybody that watches this and knows how I kind of get down with the indie creator spotlights, I always like to ask every creator that I have on the show, kind of like, what started your love for comic books?
I would say I was a cartoon kid first, right? So Space Ghost was the first superhero that I remember watching on TV. And then because that was in the Philippines, and then when I moved to New York, and that's when like Thundercats, Transformers, and all that stuff, the Chuck Norris cartoon, whatever, right? So that was the Ninja Turtles. That was all in my head. But when it came to comics, I was probably like, we moved to Canada, and my grandfather came in, and he had like my brother's old comics, right? And they were all like it was like a bunch of Shang-Chi's, the Cockrum and John Byrne XMen, back and forth. And I used to get confused, like, how come Wolverine's mask looks good in this one, but I don't like the way Wolverine looks in this one? But it's Wolverine, so I like Wolverine. But yeah, so that's how I got into comics. And then so I had stacks of just like back issues, and they were all like Filipino bootlegs. So like they didn't have the regular ads. They had these weird ads for like folk tales on the back. The color was all messed up, so maybe that's why I can't color. But so I read a lot of it. I looked at more. Is that era, right? It was that era that I watched a lot. And then when the Jim Lee X-Men, like the adjectiveless X-Men came out, that's when I started getting big on X-Men and the Marvel stuff. So like Silvestri Wolverine, right? Silvestri Wolverine was one of my favorites. I didn't really catch the difference between different artists. I just looked at characters. It took me a long time for me to realize that, oh, a person makes this, right? But then as I look back, Jim Lee X-Men was cool, but I actually ended up connecting with like Andy Kubert X-Men a little bit more, right? There was a reason why I didn't like JR X-Men at first, but I really liked his Punisher and his Daredevil. But I didn't connect these things till later, right? I just remember getting my feelings hurt looking at X-Men 300, and it's just like, what's wrong with this? But
that's funny. I thought the same thing when I got that particular issue.
But then now, like, the Kayfabe, the shoot interview with like JR when he's talking about deadline style and he just goes and he gets it done. I was like, oh, so much more respect for that guy, because it probably didn't look as good as I wanted selfishly as a reader, because he was doing 60 books, right? When you're doing 60 books, right? That's when that whole thing was, oh, a person does this, right? And I have a lot more respect for maybe some of the books that I didn't like because of the way that it looked, right? Just because of the craft that gets put in, right? The craft that gets put in, and the time that gets put in. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because like I constantly, even now, I still think about it, because I think I've always loved old comics, but I think the Kayfabe channel over the last like couple of years has made me go back and buy stuff that maybe I wanted as a kid but just didn't get, or maybe I was too young for and I didn't get. And I was like, I put myself back in that time frame. I'm like, man, when I was a kid, like, I don't think I liked this art style, but now I totally appreciate, and I do like it. Like, I think John Romita Jr. was a style I did not like as a kid. I was like, I had that issue 300 with the hologram fucking cover, and I'm just like, what is this? Why does Nightcrawler look like he's so blocky? Like, this is just a weird style. And now I love John Romita Jr.'s stuff from that era, when I look back on it.
I just didn't like his mutants at the time, just because
Yeah.
probably because he was like he was spread thin, right? He's spread really
Right.
thin, and he just did. And I think inkers have stuff to do with it.
Yes. I agree.
I didn't realize that all those credits were jobs, right?
Mhm.
I didn't I didn't realize that when I was younger. But like I remember seeing his Daredevil and his Punisher, and I was like, oh, these are cool. I like this. But then there's that whole time when Scott and Jean are getting married, and then there's this one boring issue where it's just talking about backstory, and Jean has these lips that really confused me, and Scott has this big giant bomber jacket that it's like, did somebody look this over? I remember being confused as to why this was allowed, right? But then you think about it and you're like, oh, okay. But then that actually gave me some feeling of maybe I can draw a comic, because looking at Jim Lee and like Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Andy Kubert, any of Mark Texiera, those guys were like the best. And it's like, if I'm not as good as these guys, right? I think there's no way I can draw a comic. There's no way I can draw a comic. Oh, okay, I guess I'll just read them, right? But then there's like when it comes to being inspired to actually create stuff, sometimes I don't know. I always felt that it wasn't looking at the good stuff, right? Because the good stuff is what you would aspire to, but it's kind of defeating when you know that you can't be that good, right? But if you look at it and you're like, oh, I can be better than this guy, right? Like not to say that I thought that I was better than JR, because I'm not. I couldn't. I knew it wasn't as good as Jim Lee, but I knew I still couldn't do that, right? So that was bugging me a lot, right? That was bugging me a lot. So it was actually things like Captain Underpants. Like as I got older, like when I realized I'm teaching all these kids and they're devoted to Captain Underpants, right? So something is a little bit wrong. They're like, no, like, and it's those small things where you're like, no, but I can do that. That I can do.
Yeah.
Right. Or I'm trying to watch stuff on TV, and I'm seeing these cartoons. I like the DC animated movies. Those are really, really cool. That's fine. But then when you watch like something that's just dumb and eats at your brain, and you're like, why do kids like this? But it's on TV. It's on there. I can do better than that. So, it kind of pushes, like, I'm not there on a Warner Brothers, but I can get something on Canadian TV, I think. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like just little by little, right? And that's what this whole journey has been, is just kind of like trying to catch up to the one that's like right in front of you. Like you can't always go like right to the very, very end, right? But just do it in increments, like whatever, pass that guy in front of you, and then pass that guy in front of you. Okay, tie with that guy, pass that guy in front of you. And that's kind of like how I look at it. So it never feels so far, right? Because like having a book sometimes just feels so far, but laying out a page is not. It's right there. You have a piece of paper, you have a pencil or a pen, you can do that part, right? Yeah, that's just a bit of what I've been.
I mean, I feel like I've always felt that same way of how you described, like, man, I could never draw this shit. Like there's no way that I could draw a comic. And like when I was a kid, and I don't know where it stopped, and I think I've talked about this before, like I used to draw so much, and I wouldn't trace, I would look at a drawing, and then like I'd recreate, I'd start at one point and then just do that same line and then go from there, right? And I just stopped for whatever reason. But I think that, I mean, if I had more, I wish I had more time in the day, but like as I watch you guys in the Ringside Seats group, right? Like you guys are more, to me, it's more inspiring what you guys are doing than what I see from DC, Marvel, Image, all the other publishers. And I enjoy that. So don't get me wrong. Like, I love comic books. I love reading them. Yeah. But in terms of inspiration, in terms of like something to aspire to do, it's what you guys are doing. And like just even looking at your Kids of Troop 44, right? Yeah. Looking at that to what you're doing now, to watch your growth and to watch where you were, and what is that, 8 years ago now, 8 years to now, and like you just keep doing stuff, you know, and like, and all of you, dude, all of you guys, just like the joy and the passion you have behind it is, it's awesome to watch.
Well, thanks for that. It's but it's actually like, yeah, I started it years ago because I was running an after school program for Taekwondo, and I just wanted a story to wrap around lessons, right? I just like, I wanted like those old Ninja Turtle Solson books that just, they weren't comics, but they just like, hey, look, here's some moves to do.
Yeah.
I wanted something like that, but I kind of wanted to wrap a story around it, right? So I was like, okay. So I basically threw it in. I went the football movie / Karate Kid, throw it together, throw in some references, and here's some lessons. And that's what it was. I actually drew that book on like with my finger on a trackpad on a laptop.
Wow, okay.
Right. So and I had this idea. I was like, I wanted to make this big graphic novel to do it, which is the worst idea to start with. But you know, brave and stupid, you go and you do it. So I put it out in like little mini singles that I'd sell at the club, like or at tournaments or something, and people would get them. And then I was pretty much stuck. Like I did 2 books like that, and then after a few years, after 3 or 4, that's when my wife said, you know, it looks like this isn't just a passing thing. You're actually wanting to do it. So like for Christmas, she got me like a Wacom tablet so I can actually use a pen. And that was a big game changer. I started, that's when I made a children's book, and like all with the same characters. And we did all that. And then I was okay. And then when pandemic hit and when image grand design stuff started coming around, like, so I would say in the last 2 years, I've made more jumps in the last 2 years than I have in the last 10 years, right? It's just because of the team that's around, right? It's right. Like anybody that watches sports is like, there's one guy that's talented, but if you have a team, it's better, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's always better, right? It's always better. And so like I try my best. Like one of my favorite parts about getting comics right now is not like, I'm not a Wednesday warrior. I don't go to I just maybe like a few times, right? A few times, like any of the grand design stuff comes out, I'm there first day. Ultra Mega I was excited about, boom, there, got it, right? But it's when people have their own books, that's what I get excited about. Going to thrift shops and getting old books that I would never look at a Julie Doucette book, right?
Oh yeah, she's awesome.
But then when I heard the name a few times on the thing, I was like, oh, these things just start popping up and they start flying out at you. I'm like, oh, I know this name. Oh, I know this name. Mm-hmm. Right? It's and that's, you know, the thrift shop, because I can't afford to get new stuff because there's so much old stuff that I've missed, and there's just so much good old stuff that I've missed. And I think that speaks to me a little bit. I think that speaks to me a little bit more and will fuel me a little bit more than just getting something brand new that I have no idea. Like I have no idea, like there's no reference point. I can't start this, right? Right. Like how many volumes is this? Like I can't, right? But then if I go and I was like, oh look, there's an Astro Boy for $2, zoink, right? I'm getting those.
I'm jealous of you guys. Whenever I hear you guys saying you're going to thrift shops and you find these books, and I see them in the group or I see them on Instagram, I'm like, motherfucker! Like there's none of those in LA. Like at least not to my knowledge. I don't know of any of those type of shops. There's no Ollies. Like I always see people posting pictures of those. But yeah, I agree. I guess I'm lucky in the sense that I still work 1 day a week at the shop, so I get a discount. I don't know that I would be buying as much as I buy, at least of like the new stuff, because like you said, like any buying I do outside of the shop is all old stuff. I'm not buying anything new. But yeah, I think that, like you said, like Julie, you say, like, I remember I was talking to Matthew Allison and he mentioned Dirty Plot. And, you know, whenever I'm talking to a creator, I have a pen and paper to the right of me. And I don't, because I don't want to forget. So I'll make little notes of like the stuff they recommend. But yeah, I mean, comics is not a cheap, it's not a cheap fucking hobby. That's for sure. And it makes it harder ever since I've been in this group with you guys, because I'm now not just buying the new stuff I get from the shop. I'm now getting stuff from you guys because I'm like, well, they dropped in. I want to get that too. You know, I want to support them. And then also the Kayfabe channel, like they're constant. I feel like if I don't buy it right away, I'm screwed. So I have like probably 2 short boxes of stuff that I still haven't even read, you know, and I just buy them and I just put them away.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that. It's a disease a little bit, but
yeah. And you said, because like you said, like, I mean, I'm just picking it out. Like you said, it's hard to like figure out where to jump in. Is there a period where you stopped reading comics, or have you always since you were a kid?
Yeah. I stopped following new comics around like X-Men, like the Phalanx Covenant.
Oh wow!
Like right before Age of Apocalypse stuff. That's when I started becoming the sneakerhead, because I thought I got cool and all that kind of stuff, right? I wanted the new pennies, and right, so I had them, right? So, but then after that, then I had to spend my money on like tournaments and competitions and stuff like that. So then that's where all the cool stuff gone, right? I think what really got me back thinking about, like, I always like would pick up whatever manga, whatever comic, like every now and again, just to enjoy them. But I didn't start actually like looking back until X-Men Grand Design. When X-Men Grand Design came out, when I saw one picture of like Cyclops busting out the Iceman, I was like, what comic is this? What is this? I missed this one, because I thought it was old, but it was new. And I was like, who is this guy? Oh, this is the Hip Hop Family Tree guy. That book looked cool. And then I read I listened to some interviews, and then hooked. Hooked, and then all that stuff now.
Is that what brought you? So getting those books, is that what brought you to the Kayfabe channel, and then in turn, the group?
It was X-Men Grand Design that got me to the Kayfabe channel, and then like watching all the mailbags and stuff. I sent some stuff out to the mailbag. They put some stuff out, so whenever I have a bad day, I can look at the stuff that they showed on the mailbag, and they didn't rip me apart. So I was like, yes, butchered my name, but I was like, yes, right. It's on, so I cut it up. So that's like my commercial that I'll put on every now and again. When pandemic hit, when that was the Image Grand Design episode that Ed put up, and I remember I asked a few times during pandemic. I was like, does anybody want to do something? Like, anybody want to do something? Crickets, nothing. Crickets, nothing. It's it's quarantine. I'm bored. Anybody want to do something? Crickets, nothing. So I said, okay. I went to the dollar store, went to go grab me a sketch pad, and I was like, okay, I need an excuse to draw a Ninja Turtle. Let's do this Savage Dragon thing. I've never drawn him. Oh, that Finn's hard. So I drew that, threw Raphael in there, and I said, hey, look, guys, here's this. And then as soon as I put that down, right, was it David Browers the next day, he stopped whatever he was doing, and he started drawing a cover. And I knew him, he's the wizard guy, right? He's the wizard guy that draws the cool muscles and the eyes and the Browersiness of everything.
Yeah.
So then he started putting that up, and I was like, whoa, wait, this is way better than I'm thinking about. I thought this was just going to be fun. And then Rick Lopez, he hit me up, and he's like, yeah, I got this idea, and he just, Rick, his brain just he hears something, then bam, 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 and he put it on, and I was like, and I was trying to be cool and be like, yeah. yeah, that's cool. And because he was asking me like I knew stuff. I don't know nothing. So then that's when I went to go. I hit up Eli, cried to him. I was like, "Oh, people asking me about it. I don't know what to do. You have some experience. Can you help me?" He's like, "Dude, I'm on my birthday." He's like, "Dude, it's my birthday. I'm on day. I'll talk to you tomorrow." So, but then afterwards, a little bit later, right? So that's kind of how it kicked off, and then people just started coming in. Nathan Grixty, he pumped out panel after panel after panel after panel, and he's like, and stuff that didn't even make it into the book. And I remember thinking, this is going to be big. Like, I don't know what's happening here. I don't exactly know what's happening. I just want my 2 pages, and then everything started kicking off. Zooms started happening where people were going, and my wife called them the nerd Zooms because it was. And we went, and I remember going to that first little meeting, and talking, and then Rocco was on, right? Rocco was on, and he's like, I transcribed the episode that they wrote about, blah, blah, blah. You can sign up for this. And there was a Spawn and Savage Dragon fight, and like that was the script. Spawn and Savage Dragon fight. Right? It's final. Nobody was saying anything, and I was like, I'll take that one. Yeah. Like, I don't know how to like I'm not gonna draw it, but I know how fights work. If you guys want to see a fight, I'll make a fight. Right? I said, because I wasn't really an Image guy, right? I didn't watch a lot of it. I didn't read a lot of Image. I thought they were the bad guys, right? They were the guys that took Jim Lee, right?
Yeah,
they're the guy that took Todd. We don't have that kind of Spider-Man anymore, right? That's kind of how I looked at it. But I remember in the meeting telling them, I don't know any of the story, so I'm not in that position. But if you guys want fights, I can draw power bombs. I can draw like I can draw moves. You let that out. So I laid it out. It looked rough, but people liked it. Ro Higashi, she was supposed to she was supposed to do it, which would have been super cool because she has anime action like it's on point. Like she knows how it works. So I saw her working. I was like, okay, would she do that? And she was, but she felt some health stuff. And she couldn't do it anymore. But she's good now. And then Chris Anderson stepped up. Chris Anderson stepped up, and yeah, I remember he asked me, he's like, "Do you want me to ink it as is, or do you want me to just do what I do?" Right? And it's like, this guy's asking me, like, Rocco told me that he's like draws things in heavy metal and stuff like that, and I was like, "No, do what you do. You're like, do what you do. This is amateur hour. I just know how." And the first page that he ever sent me back, where he like fixed up the proportion, and he just drew it well, right? He just drew it really, really well. Like my jaw dropped, and that was the moment where I was like, I'm in. I'm actually making comics. I'm in. I don't care if it's bootleg. I don't care if I get a dime. I'm in. Like this, right? This guy's a pro, and he made my stuff look good, right? And when he did that, like I was floored. I was floored. And when more like as things started going on, like guys like Ben Granoff and Craig CK, like they would offer me tips. Like they were like, okay, you can do this, right? You can do this. You can add this. This doesn't need to be there. Make sure that it's all regular first before you start going bonkers. Like those little kind of cartooning, like not even just art tips, but like cartooning tips. Like those were huge, and storytelling tips. Those were huge from those guys. And then we started making, Craig was like, that Jack Kirby made a Bruce Lee comic, right? And I was like, what? He was talking about Phantom Force, and then they wanted to do like the book reports, and then I was like, can I take a shot at that if nobody's doing the Phantom Force one? Right, no one's doing the Phantom Force one, and then they're like, yeah, sure. And that was like when I started doing everything, like when I did it myself, right? When I started doing everything myself, like I would color it myself and I inked it myself, and that's when there was like, I felt like there was some pressure. And I felt like there was some pressure just because it's like, oh, I don't have anyone to cover me now. Now I'm just doing it. And I knew it was good. But I knew it was not good, but I knew I was getting better because I was working on it. My wife came down and she's like, "Oh, that's cool. Who made that?" Right? And I was like, "It was me." And she's like, "Oh, it doesn't even look like yours." Right? But yeah, that was a very fun way of her just saying that it's getting good, like it's getting good. So I was happy with that. And so all the pages that I did in like Grand Design and Grand Disaster, like I have in that little flip zine, which is like a cool meta thing, because in the disaster story, the Jessie Street Angel, she reads it, right? She reads it to learn moves so she can fight Raph and all that kind of stuff. So that was like, so that whole project, like I got to do a Turtles book, right? I got to do a Turtle story. I made it meta, and I had the actual book in the book. I hang out, I fight zombies with Ed and Jim and Tom, right? I do all that stuff. I have I channel the ghost of Bruce Lee and Jack Kirby. I get to do that, right? Mm-hmm. And I get to choreograph the final fight. Come on, like I just felt like I was in. This is not just hobby stuff anymore. I think I can start moving it towards some things. And after that book, after that project was cool, I was almost like, oh no, summer camp's over. But it's never really over, because then I got to make some kids books. I put the 2 small Troop 44 books, I slapped them together, put those on Amazon. That was briefly on a bestseller list, so I made sure to screenshot that, and I'm gonna ride that like it's 4 touchdowns in a single game, like for forever, right? I'm like,
yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah.
So I got to do that, and things like black belter. Hold on, so I got these bad boys here. So like these are like these are my SuperMag, right? Like getting things like SuperMag, where it was it's comics all over the place, right? It's comics all over the place. It's Mad Magazine, it's that kind of stuff. That was so inspiring. I was like, oh, I can just make a page of something, and I can do that. I did the John Byrne inky stuff, right, for practice, and then I'd make my own cover, right? I'd make my own cover just because. Some people get mad because they think it's like, oh, that's not right. It's not yours. And I'm like, well, X-Men's not his, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not selling them. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I mean, and you make all these yourself. All these are handmade, right?
Yeah. Hand stapled, right? Hand stapled, hand cut. I'll show the videos, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Things like there's industry comics and there's in the streets comics. So this is what I do here. Yeah, and all that practice from the group has been great. Another cool highlight was I think Tony Farrell. He put up a post and he said, and he was like I'm trying to get a handle on these Kirby 9-panel fight grids. And then I think Grixty was the one that kind of put me on. He's like, what about this? So I sent them like one of like my warm-up. It's like, it's 2 blank characters. There's 2 blank characters and they're in a fight. And I was like, could you use this? And he's like, I could try. And he did. And it's in Ulf Maverick. So if you're gonna get that Ulf Maverick and that Randy Tucker, you guys go get that. And then there's a page for me. It's a nice suplex in there. But he drew that and it worked. And that whole book was bonkers. With like the dark front side and then the really light and bright Michelangelo backside. It was that book overall was really good. There's just so much good stuff from the group that I just try to keep up with, and that whole iron sharpens iron type thing. And whether they know that I do it or not, or they look at it, I'm inspired by everybody. So like I just have like stacks here. So like this was my intro. This was my intro to the Kayfabe group. So this was there's the Jeff Manley Zero Adventure. He's got another one. This guy's nuts.
Oh yeah, dude. Space Knights is dope. Yeah.
Kevin, we all know Sam.
Yeah.
We all know Sam. I bootleg this one because I bought the digital, but I printed it myself. That. Hey, you got to get Don on there. These guys, okay. So this is a very if you're a Dan Moeller, Rick Lopez fan, take this one. If you want crazy nasty fights, you go get this one.
Don, what is that one? The one with
with the Biggie cover?
Yeah.
Oh, this Fist of the New Lands. This is like, I don't know if he has this cover anymore, but like it's a small dude kung fu battles wearing Jordans. Like what else? Right? We got the Ulf Maverick.
I got that one.
Yeah, Randy Tucker. That one's good. This is another one I printed out. The guy from Fiji. I made a flip. Clarence Das. He makes some cool stuff. Here's some more Nathan. You got, so Brian Payne. Brian Payne, he has a newspaper comic, right?
And so
it's and then here's the first Relic Hunter. He's got like good ones for sale, but this is the one that I just swiped and bootlegged, and that was what it is. Cosmic Cat.
Yeah.
Chris Anderson nastiness. So you go get these on his Patreon. Sorry, I'm just doing a commercial for everybody.
Yeah, you got everything over there.
And then there's the Power 1 and 2. I'm still waiting on 3. I'm waiting on 3 and the trade. Psychonaut Dan Moeller. Whew, that guy's nuts. And then there's Omega Squad Chris Barton. So he's like my first comic buddy here. He used to live around where I was, and we sat beside each other during like my first few cons, and like we'd like sketch out. So like he's a good dude. So but he moved, so but he's got stuff coming out all the time. So but yeah, I love like looking at everybody else's stuff. It makes, at the very least, it makes sure that I keep working.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So things like trying to plug like my Patreon, right? It's one of the best things. It's been one of the best things for me. Not so much not like finances. I'm not like oh yeah, I'm living off of Patreon. That'd be cool. But what it is it gives me a deadline, right? Because I've committed, right? There was a time when I had just 2 patrons, but I told these 2 patrons that I'm going to drop something every Wednesday, right? So watch the process every Wednesday. So I make sure that every Wednesday I have something set up. Next panel press stuff. Being put on that every 2 weeks. Throw on a page. Because I have that deadline. I'll get something done. Is it going to be perfect? No, I'm gonna going through the Akira and the Otomo stuff. He'll put stuff out and then redo everything later, but just to make sure that he gets that deadline. And that's so huge, right? That's so huge, just having that deadline to just, okay, get it done. Perfect. Done is better than perfect. And that's what I'm gonna go through. And there's that whole thing of, I have to get through 1,000 pages first before I actually start considering whether I'm good or I'm bad, right? I have to go through that. If I decide before that, then I'm quitting. That's not real, right? It's not real. I have to make the mistakes. I have to go through those 1,000 pages. That's one of my favorite episodes of Kayfabe, is the Ed Pisker's the first 1,000. He says first 1,000 crappy pages. And I was like, I don't have 1,000 pages. How am I going to complain that my stuff's not good because I haven't done 1,000 pages? Am I going to get rewarded for the work that I didn't do?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. Right? You got to put your reps in. So that's what I've been doing. Yeah. Lately, one of my latest projects. This is really fun. Was this is another time. So now briefly, I'm considered on the 2 times on the bestseller list. Very, very briefly, but this is Super Kids. So it's all just kids, but it was a comic that was written by a 6-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
It was a comic written by a 6-year-old girl and her grandpa, and they hired me to illustrate it.
That's awesome.
And what was cool, how I got that that job was because I did something that I didn't get paid for, right? And a lot of times people will frown on stuff that was like, oh, you didn't get paid for it, or you didn't. Why are you doing this, right? It's not worth it. But I made a T-shirt for my wife because she was pivoting to online learning, right? And you know that I don't know if you watch Friends or anything, but that
Yeah.
whole that pivot that whole thing. So
Yeah.
I made like a caricature of that scene because everyone was saying how you have to pivot to online learning, and she hated the word pivot, and she's like, it just reminded me of the thing. So just to kind of cool her off, I made this shirt. Like, and also practiced caricature stuff. Shout out Nisi, who is another gangster, who helps me out a lot. Actually, like I hit him up for some advice all the time. You know, I made that shirt. One of her friends from like a long time ago, from like high school, saw it, and she's like, "Oh, who made that?" "Oh, my husband did." Do you think he would draw this comic?" "Yeah, I think so. Contact him." And that was a job for a couple of months. So that was, and it made the author, the kid, like super happy, right?
That's
and
cool.
that was awesome. So like, I'm available for that, guys. All the like the symposium stuff, getting a chance to kind of like, you know, ask like the different artists, like, you know, I'm flying off on a bunch of
That's all
tangents
good.
here.
Well, what are you currently working? I mean, I know you put out the Black Belter, which is like a collection of different like one-offs, and then the next panel press stuff you're also putting in there. But what else do you have in the works?
Well, right now I'm gonna go. I'm still finishing up Tree versus Fox. So I have Troop 44. Troop 44. That's the graphic novel. That's the kids one. But Tree versus Fox is it's kind of like a finale. It's a follow up. It's a follow up to Troop 44, but it's just gonna be like Destroy, right? It's gonna be like Scott McCloud's Destroy. It's an all fight comic. I want it to be like 40 pages. 44 pages would be as a kind of what I want. 44 pages of just the tree and the fox busting each other up, right? And I think I pride myself on having good choreography and good action. So if somebody likes fight comics and somebody likes things, that I think they would really enjoy it, because it's there. So I'm doing Tree versus Fox. I'm working on the third Black Belter should be out next. Should be out by the end of this month.
Okay.
Right, the third Black, and I'm doing next panel press. So one of the things with Black Belters is I try to throw some bootlegs behind it, like just to show. So I want to get so I've used the X-Men's past few times, but I'm gonna, there's middle-aged midlife crisis turtles.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
you shared that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna throw those in. I'm gonna throw those in with Black Belter 3. Throw those in with Black Belter 3, or like an Ashcan version of Super Kids, if somebody is not if somebody doesn't want like the Mean Turtles one, right? If it's something for their kids or something. So I try to handle those, and like I print stuff a lot, like not just, you know, just for me to read and just for other people to read. Like it became a hobby as soon as I did it the first time, and it happened during Image Grand Design. It was, oh look, we have a couple of pages. Let me staple some of this stuff together and make people jealous, and it worked. And
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I'm doing all that. I run kids comic courses too. So like I have these like make a comic kind of stuff. These are like little workbooks that I run for kids, and yeah, and it's just a lot of the lessons that I've learned through making, right? A lot of the lessons that I learned through making and through everybody in the group. And I like to, right, I work with kids. I work with kids all the time. So this is something that's fun, and it gets them to kind of like to journal. It gets them to journal it without feeling like they're making a journal, right? You get to know more about the kid when they make their comics. You get to know more about their sense of humor. You get to know more about how they think. And when you know how they think, then you can communicate with them better. And when you communicate with them better, you can teach them whatever they want, right? So so that's where I'm at right now. So basically a lot of the same. If people want to follow, at Jerome Cab is that's where I'm at everywhere. Instagram, Twitter. I don't really check Twitter. Maybe I should now because Elon Musk and all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Patreon, patreon.com/Jerome Cab. Buy me a cup of coffee and I'll send you some comics and I'll keep making them. I'll keep making them. And if you don't, that's fine. I'm gonna be posting them anyway. People are gonna watch. This has become something that I just do now, right? I've always done it, but now this is a nice quick story. So I know we gotta get going soon, but it was nice. I was teaching a class. I was teaching a taekwondo class. I don't know. I think last year, and this was around the time where I was starting to sell some books, and I was feeling good, but still kind of like hesitant. Like hard to call yourself an artist. Like if you're an artist, you're a creator. It's hard to admit it, right? It's hard to admit it, but. I ran this really good class and everyone was sweating, having fun, and they all felt like they learned something. And one of the parents was like, oh, sir, do you have a day job? Like you're awesome at this. Like, is this your full time? Do you have a day job? And I said, and without thinking, I said, yes, I'm a cartoonist. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And there was no blink, no nothing, right? No blink, no nothing. I was like, oh wait, I am a cartoonist. I am, right? So and that was hard. Like being a competitor or fighter or whatever, it was fine, but like I've lost enough and I got beat up enough that I was like, it's just not scary anymore, right? I'm not the best, but it's not scary, right? I know what losing feels like. I know what being hurt feels like. It's not scary, but going to table and say, hey, please buy my art without you knowing who I am, that was scary. So that's what made me, it was not just scary, but it was scary and excited. I've come to the point where I realize that anything that I do, if it scares me and excites me at the same time, then I have to do it. If it just excites me, it could be passive, right? If it just scares me, like skydiving, I don't want to do that, right? But if it scares me and excites me at the same time, then I have to do it. And that was the point where I knew when I went to a tournament, like if I go to a taekwondo tournament, people know who I am, so it's fine. I'm comfortable there. I go to a Comic-Con, nobody cares what I did, right? Nobody cares what I did. Even my daughter, like she knows, Daddy used to fight around the world and do all this stuff. She doesn't care about that. But he has a book on Amazon. That's cool. I'm like, I work really hard on that other stuff too, girl.
Yeah.
but yeah. So like that's been a huge step for me. Is kind of taking it as treating it as a proper thing, because sometimes teaching taekwondo and teaching like martial arts and in general, growing up, I had the same feeling of when are you going to get a real job, that kind of thing. No, you make it a real job, right? You make it a real job. Same thing with cartooning and art. It's once I've accepted it, then I'm making it a real job, right? I'm doing my best with it. Another guy that's really good at that kind of stuff that I hit up a lot, Ryan Tavares.
Yeah.
I called him Art Tavares forever, right? But yeah, Ryan. He like that guy knows how to hustle. That guy knows how to make this, like this is how you turn it into a job. Yeah, you hustle hard and that's what you do, right? Right, you push it and you believe in your work, and you don't sell yourself short, right? Chris Anderson, same thing. He hustles hard. Because he hustles hard, he creates the luck that he gets, right? You watch sports, you know the guys that like they hustle hard and they get the lucky breaks because they hustle hard. Like some kind of gods are looking over them when they do stuff like that, right? And that's what I'm about, because I don't have the natural talent to draw all these muscles that people are gonna like. But I do think that I work hard. I'm a good team player, and I think I'm pretty funny. So people will work to that, right? People will go to that. Like, I'm not gonna get the guy that like maybe even like the regular like Kayfaber that likes, you know, that likes certain comics, and they know what they like, and they want me to know the backstory of everything. Maybe I'm not for you, but your kids might like my stuff, right? Because I have fart jokes and because there's karate, like, you're gonna like it, like, right? And that's kind of, you know, where I'm at, and just knowing that just because one person doesn't like it, that doesn't mean that everybody else doesn't like it, right? Because it works the opposite way. Just because one person does like it, that doesn't mean everybody else is gonna like it. Right. I just gotta avoid the people that don't like it or not care, and then really push towards the people that do. And usually that's kids that like me. So that's where I'm aiming. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, I dig your stuff. I love watching your posts and stuff you share also. You are a funny dude. And yeah, I'm really glad that we got to do this and we got to talk comics for a little bit. And you already, I was going to ask you, like, where can people follow you? You already said that. So I'm going to drop all the links down below. Make sure everybody listening and watching, you hit him up on Patreon, hit him up on Facebook, all that stuff, and check out his comics. They're awesome. And again, thank you so much for doing this, dude. And I definitely want to have you back on the show again sometime in the future.
Yeah, man. When it's Tree versus Fox time, I want to talk some.
Yes. I'm definitely down to help promote that book when it comes out. And
all right, thanks, dude.
Yeah, dude. Thank you.